Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in, like really diving in depth on a great viewer comment that was made. And we're really going to sort of dive in deep into what is known as narcissistic pathological insecurity. So those people who we find ourselves inextricably attracted to, inextricably wanting to have a relationship with at all costs. We find we can't explain, but we are attracted. They seem to be the only one. They shine above all. They are nicer. They are whatever it is more important, the authority, the one who knows, the one with the talent, the one with the money, the one with the car, the one with the opinion, the one with the judgment, the one with the pathological insecurity. Believe it or not, those people who seem bigger than life, who are charming, who seem to expect blind obedience, put up and shut up, you should be so lucky to have me, is sort of the innuendo. It is the unspoken terms of interaction, of contract. This is known as interpersonal relations. This is not intrapersonal, which is within yourself. Some people have a real talent at intrapersonal, which means within yourself. In other words, what am I thinking here? Can I think this through? Can I plan this? This is what I want. So that's an intrapersonal relationship. That's sort of what I call that internal real estate that is up for sort of target, being bombarded with accusations, opinions, judgment, criticism, belittling. There's something always about you that is marred, bigger than the mar of the mar of, there's something, in other words, that becomes embedded in you, which is experienced in psychology as toxic shame, low self-esteem, this whole just sort of vast arena, this vast conglomerate of experiences that are experienced, not always been able to articulated by the victim. So the other person finds themselves a captive audience to those people who are narcissistic, who are psychopathic, who are charming, good looking. You don't know why, but the look in their eye says, follow me home, come hither. I know what's best. Let me just soothe you. There is something about the relationship that is uneven, that has been made unequal. And this vast slope is like a pendulum that gives them an automatic runway for emotional abuse. And the seed of this at the narcissist is pathological insecurity that is projected onto the unknowing bystander. In other words, the innocent receiver of this harsh treatment. And like our viewer so aptly stated just a couple of days ago, and she's referring to like every time she speaks. So she says, every time I speak, it is met most often with veiled hostility and contradiction or annoyance. How lovely does that sound to interact with this type of person? Every time I speak, it is met most often, in other words, this is the energetic greeting, that the essence of this person, we dive deep here. We're talking about the etheric energy, really sort of that quantum field that has allowed others to penetrate permeate and sort of get into the driving hinges, the thumb drive of other people's emotions, i.e. you, the person who finds yourself married to them, working for them, in a sibling, relationship, in-law relationship, child-parent, the dynamic. And unfortunately, it is a power trip gone bad. But because for decades, and it is oftentimes for people who are then assailed, which means, like this individual is stating, every time I speak, it is met most often with veiled hostility. So in other words, there's an innuendo. There's something very important that you must understand in order to heal. And realize that this is pathological insecurity. So if you want to kind of understand the cause, and we're going to get really deep into it, and I know a lot of you are more advanced here. And so for people who are just kind of coming through, you don't need to know this. This is how it's always going to be. Put up and shut up. They won't give, sort of standing up for themselves a dying chance. They won't even begin to, separate a little and go, oh my God, I can't take this anymore. Every time I speak, it is met most often with veiled hostility, contradiction, or annoyance. So nothing is wrong with this person. This is my flesh and blood, alienated, grown up, and I pay the price to be the person, that was meant to be as I provide care to my grandbabies, and this person has passed away. So as you can see, even though this person is not even around, this person has an invisible sort of gauge, joy-like stick control, puppeteer mastery, puppet master like sort of command over the internal, the intrapersonal relationship. So when we talk about psychology here, yes, I have my degree in psychology and English and in education, and I've done extensive studies beyond, masters. So we're really sort of boiling it down here. Why? Because you need to go thorough. Why? Because this is serious. Why? Because this penetrates the internal fibers of your being. Your being. This is your pages. This is your wood. This is your leaves. This is your flesh. This is your blood that you walk around in. This is the fiber of your being. And as you know, on the Peace and Harmony channel here, we talk a lot about, so this is kind of advanced. Watch our previous videos. But when we talk about narcissistic or psychopathic emotional abuse, which is not, invisible, that which is covert, not able to be seen, sensed, tasted, touched, in other words, it's automatic as breathing, your heartbeat, your cardiovascular system, your fight or flight. This is like your wiring, folks. You are like your Tesla, like your Mercedes, your Maserati, your BMW, whatever it is, or maybe it's your very fond 2003 whatever truck that always starts and never fails you. So what are the fibers of your being? This is where the attack is. This is the ground of emotional warfare. We use a lot of explicit terms here. This is not meant to be abrasive, harsh, hostile, demonetized, or anything of the sort, although oftentimes, would you believe it, these healing videos are demonetized because they are considered sensitive topics. Well, if your happiness is a sensitive topic, well, and it can't be considered standard normal airfare that can be displayed on YouTube, then I don't know what is. But, we are talking about your I am. We're talking about the actual feet, that you walk with, the way that you carry yourself, your carriage, your gravitas. These are big words. Your body language, your feeling, how you present yourself to yourself, intrapersonal, or to relationships, interpersonal. Now, getting back, we have a really couple specific, very important terms here. And once again, I know that these might be advanced, but we really want to comb through and get silky smooth normal on this as everyday sort of habituated talk, because of the wonderful things it does to you. So, namely, to understand the narcissist is to understand that they have a shell. They have a public persona. They have an appearance as if. The Facebook, the email, the text, the emojis, the way they appear at the dinner dance, the dinner table, the dinner dining bedroom dance, whatever, wherever their mudroom is, their creek, their vacations, however it is they present themselves, they are usually on presentation. They are your posers. They are not, your sort of support. The other people are the supply. So these are the people who have an insatiable need for admiration and control. And in other words, an insatiable, let's think about that, what that means, that which cannot be satisfied, need. So it's not just a passing, oh, I want this because my feet are cold. This is what they need. Like, I need a drink of water right now. I am thirsty. Need to control, which means to have power over. And really, when you break that down and sort of get, if control were to be the very, very brightest star at the top of the highest bough. So if the star, in other words, what is their star? In other words, what is their pinnacle? So they have a need for admiration, power, and control. So if that could be like the brightest light, is power. So then if you can look at all the rays from that, what does power mean? It means to show up in a better car. It means to show up in a bigger voice. It means to show up with a meaner elbow. It shows up with a ammunition bag in the form of arrows, mud, rocks, veiled hostility, contradiction, or annoyance. In other words, you can't brew a cup of coffee right. You can't boil water. You can't walk or sit down correctly. You don't know how to do or shut the door of something. There's something that, they project. This is the root of a narcissist relationship. So if we look at a couple, situations, so if we could write them down. So I really believe in symbolism. So if symbolism, okay, this is just so off whatever the cuff, it's just how we go. So if this represents this star, this is, I love cut glass. This is like, they're different things. But like, if this shining, like they come in the door and like, that's their narcissist badge. So if you can imagine a big badge, write it down on a piece of paper right now. So for me, like, it might look like this, like, or just as an example, like, and so like in the book that I'm working on, it's really important for you to have working knowledge, speaking knowledge through all of your senses, and have an image, most importantly, of what this is to you, because you need to be able to say no go to certain things that are harmful or hurtful that you have not said no to before. So we're talking about getting into the Maserati. Yeah, they're cruising to work, and you have to find the brake pedal. You have to find metacognition. You have to use your ability to think about what you're thinking about, especially as it portends means relates to yourself. Relatability to self. So where people bypass that in order to people please, pacify the pathological need of the narcissist. What is their badge? Write it out. Okay. Oh yeah, we all do it here. Where's your notebook? I mean, I've got a gazillion. I am a writer. I am. It's not up to me. I am a writer. This is what I do. You do not have to be like me, but I want to help you. I am hosting this channel here for your healing and your help. And by the way, thank you again for those people who have recently donated to the channel. Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate that. Every little bit helps here. So thank you for that. We are going now. So if you were to have a piece of paper, and if you were to then, what is the narc badge? Let's write it down right now. Let's make a big star, whatever it is. Whatever it is. Okay, I love stars. That does not mean, stars are celestial. They are divine. You are made of stardust. Joni Mitchell, you have to develop some intrapersonal, meaning within yourself, reverence, and really have respect, and find out what it means to me. Aretha Franklin, find out what it means to you. Put yourself in the song, in the legs of Tina Turner, in the voice, in the etheric field. R-E-S-P-E-S-T, find out what it means to me. We're talking about within yourself and understanding why you are met with veiled hostility, contradiction, or annoyance time and time again. You could be bringing in cookies, candies, $1,000 bill, whatever it is, but you're generally met most often. If you're going to stay there long enough, you are going to be met with veiled hostility, contradiction or annoyance, or this pathological need for power and control. Okay, which is fused, energetically sourced by pathological insecurity, which means the narcissist, deep down, they don't feel that they have something right, stable, all together there. They feel that they have a little screw loose, and you know what? They kind of feel entitled or special, so they feel that sort of it allows them to get away with a lot of things. So they sort of excuse themselves away and expect others to do the same, despite you pay the price. So you need to know, what does the price you pay look like? What does the narc badge look like? So in other words, the one that has hurt you, okay? So is it green? Is it yellow? Get an image what it is, okay? What is, if you don't have an image, what does it feel like? It's usually a hurt. Hurt here. Where is the hurt? Get a picture of the body. We're just going to go long here. Get a picture of the body. Okay. And you need to know, in other words, okay, here's your body. Okay, here's your head, arms, and legs. Where does it generally hurt? Are you hurting here? Are you hurting here? Are you hurting here? Is it on the back, the front, the hands, the feet, the toes? Is it everything? Is it dark? Is it blue? Is it green? Is it like a bunch of confusion, which is usually typical for narcissists, excited and depressed at the same time? That's really healthy for you, right? How healthy Is it for you to be desiring and hurting at the same time? Yeah. Yet they're wanting you. Yeah, where's our narc badge? Okay. Here they come in the room. Draw your picture. And this is the hurt. Okay, you could be giving cookies. You could be giving a smile. You could be giving a hug. You could be understanding, forgiving them, enabling them, taking the hurt. Okay, because they're entitled, because they're special, because, and then write it out. Why is this? So if we can write this down, because, okay, so this is them, they get away with this, and there is this hurt, which you know, and you have felt, or, and you know, you're probably pretty familiar with, and then have probably swallowed, repressed, which is lived, you know, basically in denial. In other words, to pacify and get this person shining happy, or not show, you know, throwing ammunition at you, whether it's insults, whether it's looks, whether it's rolling eyes at you, whether slapping somebody else, laughing at you, belittling you, criticizing you, you know, the comments that are meant to condescend. See, the narcissist, they will darken others, those who present a light. So if here comes your light, you know, we're using examples. Here's you. Oh, I'm 2 years old. I'm 6 months. I'm 8. I'm 22. Here comes you wanting a normal, healthy relationship. And, you know, here comes them. And, oh boy, aren't they so nice, pretty, handsome, funny, rich? Aren't they? Aren't they? Aren't they? This is what the narcissist lives by. Aren't I? Aren't I? Aren't I? Isn't it nice to meet me? It's wonderful to meet me, isn't it? And you're like, yeah, isn't it nice to meet me too? And they're kind of like, oh, but your car, and then there's your hurt. You know, how many times have you been assailed? So here comes peace and harmony again. You know, assailed, and I'm sorry, this is meant to be sort of in the raw, so you can go and get things and do things. So, assailed. So, the pathological insecurity of the narcissist, I feel they will assail others. So not as in a boat, but meaning they will make a concerted or sort of violent attack on. Concerted meaning it's sort of all or nothing with them. You don't get a feeling with a narcissist. Where's your picture? Here's the one I just drew. Maybe you've got lots of them. But, you know, they will make an all or nothing attack, meaning like there's something, a concerted, meaning like a concert. It has a lot of percussive. It has a low notes. It has high notes, middle notes. It might even have a musical story about why you're so dumb, stupid. You're not like them, but they need you. They're the ones who, you know, will text you at, you know, or need specific things, or ask you to go way above, out of your way. And you do this usually in the name of love, because people who are, you know, kind of get attracted to these people above all others. So here, and I'm just using stuff here, people. Use your own Legos or whatever. Here comes another person that could be good for you. But the narcissist, boy, they're a lot bigger. They seem to be a lot more. And boy, they have sort of kind of told you, you're not that much and you should be so lucky. You know, in other words, you cannot evade their grasp. That is not a weakness of yours. That is the game that the narcissist will play. We are giving you the answers here on the Peace and Harmony channel. We are here to help you. So the pathological insecurity means because deep down inside, this person has a little key, a little something that they know just ain't right, healthy. It's basically a lack of empathy. They don't really sort of have the love, the affection, the I don't really need to prove myself situation. They have role models or a vision in their mind of something altogether different, which means, no one, nothing is really ever sort of good enough. So people will exhaust themselves and and take the unpleasant feeling or physical sensation, which to assail. So the definition is sort of an assault. So you must learn here on the Peace and Harmony channel here that verbal assaults, attacks, criticism, judgment, the people who, are trying to play themselves into under your skin, i.e., take over your interpersonal relationship. Interpersonal, interpersonal. So, I'm sorry, intra with an A, not E, intrapersonal. So, intrapersonal, which means within. And I feel that this is one of the most important relationships you will ever have and discover, but chances are you have been created in a situation of self-doubt and lived imbued in that like a used tea bag because you have been assailed, meaning the verbal unpleasant feeling or physical sensation to come upon someone suddenly and strongly, like a gust, like an energetic, etheric energy. So they're captivating, they're charming, their body language, their voice, their eyes, their butt, their whatever. Maybe they've got the longest hair, the longest fingernails, who knows? Only you. What is your because? Don't be afraid to look at it in the eye. They were the only one. I mean, you have to air out your dirty laundry. Okay? I'm sorry, but your laundry is yours. You don't have to put it, this is in the privacy of these videos. Okay? So why have you pacified? Why have you put, why have you put a dense head on you? Oh no, I'm not. This is just if you had a little hat. If you put this, okay, here you go. Why would you allow the narcissist to make you sort of in the dark? Because these are all the explanations and excuses and reasons that you personally gave, and you're not alone. This is a huge epidemic. And the problem is that people then have to sort of pull a lampshade over their head, live in toxic shame and embarrassment, not be able to sort of be as a person, unto another. They are then feeling, because this has been repeated again and again, these assails. So as you know, in the Peace and Harmony channel, assail means to criticize strongly. So as if they are the experts, they have a pathological need to have power over and control. And usually how they do this is by darkening the light of someone else. In other words, through criticism, through judgment, through telling you whatever this darkening is that's made you downcast, that's given you these pains that we just drew. Okay, okay. And I mean, you can even put new markers for new levels of pain. I mean, you could say, well, it all started out with this happiness. And you could put in, well, at first it was kind of confusing. And so it sort of troubled me there. And you put, like an arrow there. Well, yeah, they're peace and harmony. It was kind of strange, and I began to doubt myself. Is usually how they sort of capture others. So, in other words, if they can be captivating and make you feel or believe that you are not as good as, or not enough, or not. So they will define you by what you are not rather than what you are. This is the absence of support and validation, which is the absence of what they need. So it's like really strange because, they will project others' neediness onto what they need, and then they won't own it for themselves. So the real problematic thing is that the narcissist doesn't identify within themselves. So they don't have real good intrapersonal relationships. They don't have real great relationships with themselves. And then they tend to do this to others and then teach others to be that way unto other people, which is, usually then people get very confused, and then they don't begin to be very happy, and then they begin to then say and do things that might be sort of out of character, and get you in the mouth and the heart. The mouth and the heart. I mean, we could be doing we could be doing a workshop on this. I could be standing up. And we could have you guys, I'm just saying, you have to identify where this is, and how this happens. And a narcissist will then, they will go about then, assailing. So as you know, in the Peace and Harmony channel here, that the emotional rebuke, so the pushbacks that you get, the looks, the they're less than accepting. So repeated and with this force, as if they're the only one, as if they know better than you, for whatever reason. And maybe they do in some instances, but it doesn't mean that you have to pay the price and be this person that's all wounded, which started as confusion, which then began to accept what you say and do, and that eventually it begins to get into really sort of how you feel. Like your whole body, begins to sort of be sort of numbed out all over. And then like our previous viewer said, and then you sort of compartmentalize, and then you try to do something here and it doesn't really work, and then you have a little bit of joy, but then it really still hurts over here, and then this is getting deeper, and then you have a little bit of, well, this could work out, and then so you get a little bit of a pang of happiness, but then this is sort of overcovered, and it gets very complicated. This can go on for years and decades. This affects, you see, the problem with these toxic relationships is they are meant to sort of take over people. And this can be very unpleasant. People have a problem becoming empowered, meaning of agency, of self-advocacy, what you might consider of I am, beyond survival, beyond that. So they, they're all bottled up. They don't know how. It's a feeling, it's an experience, and then they believe falsely the lies, the pathological lies of this narcissist. Namely, it affects your self-belief. So you become imbued with, like a used coffee bag, imbued or filled or saturated with emotional, etheric energy of self-doubt. Okay? You should really question yourself. You want to hold hands. You want to have a relationship. You want to tell the truth. You want to stop drinking or drugging, or you want to stop, but something about their excuses. Oh, because they're busy, because they're a female, because they're a CEO, because, you can keep going. Fill out 1 through 50. Do you see how long the list can get? So to a point where then you might say to yourself, that list is too big. I'm just compartmentalizing myself, and then eventually you're attacked. So that negative etheric energy is received as if a physical blow or an attack by, say, a wild animal. So that fear, that agitation, that arousal, that is your fight or flight state. So like when you're afraid, when you're on like hyper energy, there's a good level of animated energy. Like now, maybe perhaps we're passionate about something. So passion has a certain etheric energy, and then acceptance, lack of fear has a certain energy as well. Now, to what degree, have you really felt that absence of fear with them? To what degree, or do you still feel a pang of fear that you can't get out, or is still there? It is still living in you, like you're a tenant, like someone who has a key to your operating system, and you don't like them living there, and you have to extricate them. In other words, you have to liberate yourself. You have to get back your intrapersonal relationship. This can be very energizing, motivating, and very scary for a lot of people to realize sort of the boundary violation that is arrived at after this sort of assailing. So after they've sort of gotten there and been the emotional honcho, if you will, the one who you answer to, even like our viewer, after they have passed away, to some degree, this is a positive thing. So like Freud, the super ego. So in other words, the lessons that you have learned that have been passed down through your upbringing. So through your parents, you learn, don't burn yourself here. Here's how you tie your shoe. Here's how you feed yourself. There's all sorts of different lessons, and so that, like Freud says, comprises your super ego. So in other words, like your highest sense of self. And then you have the id, which is the impulsive, erratic, sort of childlike, immature, sort of childish, immature. And that's where the narcissist is sort of always in that play zone, in that child zone. But it becomes problematic if there isn't regulation, which is like a healthy ego. The ego is between the superego and the id. So they're still always like on that playful, reckless, erratic, there's no rules. Yeah, but you know what? It's always funny until someone gets hurt. You might continue to play those games if you're 7, 8, or 9, but after a while as a kid, being playful at the id, with the narcissist, which is essentially the seat of their pathological insecurity. So pathological meaning that which is extreme, that which is not healthy, that which is diseased or disordered, fueled by their own interpersonal insecurity, which they project onto others. And then other people are then becoming the vessel, the holder, the bucket, the being of a lot of that person's fear, anguish, depression, their self-doubt, but they have covered over that through their reflection that they get from others. So their mask that they put on is sort of how they feed themselves and feel okay. So, but it's usually a problem for others and not for them. So it's sure, if they're the one who can always be, oh, well, how did they get this badge? How did you acknowledge and validate them and keep their narcissist badge going? Yes, your badge is accepted here. In other words, to what degree did you still accept this treatment because, oh, we could write this out all real nice and neat, folks, if you want. but to the degree it's still causing you this whole conundrum of your own symptoms. I mean, I could walk up to each and one of you and ask you right now, point to where it really hurts. And in the privacy of this video, where do you feel it? As if this is where the assailing, this is where a lot of that which you cannot see, but that which is absorbed physically and kinesthetically. So meaning your body, your body language is responsible for much of your communication. I would say it's even responsible for like 75-80%. A very, very small amount is the spoken word. And then, and things like of this nature. So the body, and so oftentimes the narcissist's body language, their carriage, their gravitas is that which is assailing to others. They own the room, they command the this. Well, because that's who they are, and don't mind if they help themselves to you and your attention, your admiration, your money, your time, your support, where you live, your muscles, your bed, your bank account, your children, someone to scratch their back, tie their shoes, make their dinner, be their companion, be their confidant, be their one that they lie to. And people are always afraid because they think, well, they might have all worked it out with me, and then the next person will get the good version. They're just nicer to everyone else. No, it doesn't play that way. The narcissist does not play it that way. They are the way that they are, the way that they are. So some people are very immune. I think that they have, they really don't mind being assailed in that way. But for many good people who have a heart, who have empathy, who don't like being criticized, judged all the time, basically at the seat of their opinion is oftentimes how it's their philosophy, it's their vision of how they feel they are, which puts them at a really, they feel that if you could boil it down to one little ingredient, it would be because they feel that they are special for some reason. Because fill in the blank. Because I'm the tallest, because I'm the shortest, because my hair's the straightest, because my hair's the curliest, because why? It could run the gamut. I mean, there's always something, and then they will always use this like an arrow in their quiver. So they go walking around with a big old, invisible backpack of emotional arrows that are meant to assail you. Once again, that feels like a physical attack. Your body gets energized by the fight or flight and then is alleviated. The tiger ain't so scary when you pet the tiger. In other words, when you people please, when you pacify, when you placate, when you play their games, when you drink their drink, when you go to their parties, when you reply to their emails, when you say it doesn't hurt, and it does, and you're trying to put up or shut up, and everybody else doesn't get it, it's because they just know right when and where to put that little arrow quiver in, and the arrow ain't filled with happiness, light, pink butterflies and hugs and good to see you and honest to goodness, how have you been? It's basically, isn't it good to see me? Why don't you impress me so I can impress you better? Or basically, if you want to have any talk, it becomes a war of words. So God forbid you would want to have a come to Jesus, come to Buddha, come to the sun, come to the Bahamas meeting with them, and they aren't having it. It ain't a problem. they aren't going to have time, the words, they're going to have something else. Just take this, and you should be so lucky, so and so, blah blah blah. I mean, that is malarkey, malarkey, and people under this fight or flight, they become and sort of arrested at this development. The cycle of abuse within the receiver becomes sort of a cycle of, I would say, like pacification, meaning they pacify the fear that has been created, the manipulation of the abuser. In other words, yeah, let me, whatever it is, let me clean for you, cook for you, work for you, be this for you, is usually the really problem. Be something different than what you are. You cannot make an oak or acorn. You cannot make an oak a cherry tree. You cannot make a cherry tree an evergreen Norwegian pine. A Norwegian pine is a Norwegian pine. If they want you to be something different, and how do you feel that? It's because you have felt it. Because of the way that they have treated you, the body language. Your body is a vessel that has really, received these emotional waves. They know how to sail very well on the stormy weather. And so if you want, to go back, you pull the reins in here, you do this, and pretty soon you're going to go, I don't want to, that ain't such a great destination. Despite all this, underneath it all, it is a very ugly place. It is a very dark place. It is not very nice. But everybody else says it's, bright and da-da-da. Oh, okay, well, good luck. Once again, right now in the digital age, this is a playground for these types, and this is just perfect persona management. We are using a lot of psychological terms here. This is so you can heal, so you can see that little bit of blue sky between the dark. Realize the dark is not you. The self-doubt is not you. The depression is not you. So people feel empty, alone, isolated, cold, startled, not happy, whatever, or they get stuck on coping. Certain things, they can begin to cope too much. They're always coping. They're always smoking, drinking, or whatever. It is out of balance. It is because you're trying to adapt to a pathological situation that's causing you the imbalance, and you're not an energetic match to this type of personality, despite it was desirable, attractive, whatever, okay? But you have learned and know, and you have to allow yourself to see the little bit of glimmer of I am, and see the clarity, and realize that the hurt has been embedded, imbued, and reinforced by the assailing, by those sort of emotional poison arrows to get under your skin, so you can be doubting yourself by they are the one who knows best. And anything that you have will be sort of cast with doubt, rolled eyes, told isn't funny, not responded to, not validated, not given its worth. So you will not be reflected. They are not a healthy emotional mirror. If this is you and you are happy, no, they are not going to be able to mirror that back. They do not have empathy. You are trying to pull blood from a turnip. You are trying to get a beautiful Norwegian pine out of a acorn. It just ain't gonna bloom. It ain't gonna give you what you think that it ain't. It just, So the sooner you can accept that, and the sooner you can back them up, and like our viewer said, I have found that the only boundary that works with emotional abusers, especially the covert ones, is to cut them off entirely. This is tough. This is like emotional surgery. Anybody feel that they are, they just come right out of the gate as an expert emotional surgeon, ready to extricate these very difficult people from their lives. Why? Because they don't like to be extricated. They do not like to be challenged. They do not like to be told no. They do not like, for you to see clearly now the rain is gone. They aren't into jumping jack flash. It's a gas, because you're on your I am energy and you're getting your needs met. So they're not going to be happy for that. Why? Because they will shine themselves brighter by making others look dark, downer, smaller, stupider. In other words, it's like, how can you have the biggest building? Well, if you go into a neighborhood where there's 3 flats and all of a sudden you put in 100-story, well, you've got, the biggest building. So in other words, they are opportunists designed to come in, and they know specifically where to target those arrows and go, you know what? I'm going to put my building there. I'm going to put my seed there. I'm going to put my power and control here over you, meaning your intrapersonal relationship, your internal real estate. Why did you give up the prime lakefront view? Why did you not, because it could not be validated, your goodness, your kindness, your patientness, your gentleness, your talent for cooking, your talent for this, your strength for this. No, it had to be marred. It had to be assailed. And one of their target sort of poison in that poisoned arrow, if you will, is to imbue you with the comments that are designed to foster and create self-doubt. So in other words, if they could take a clear inner working, a clear slate, and if they can put in little bit by little bit and fill that up, and then all of a sudden you're running on that, if you will. This is a terrible example, but this is just what's right here. But do you see what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, all you're seeing is through the glasses of their needs, of their projection, of their do this for me, when you're not permitted to have and be yourself, your strengths. You're not able to have that emotional wellspring of I am simultaneously. Why? Because they feel threatened. They want to be the biggest building. They want to be the one with the money. It's usually follow the money, follow the power, and follow the control. What does that lead to? What does that lead to? Is there money involved? Are there items? Are there jewelry? Is there relationships? Is there what is up for grabs? Only you know. And the narcissist is usually trying to blow a big old stink about something about them, when in essence, it's really their doubt. It's really their pathological insecurity, which they have not dealt with the way that you're brave enough to look and deal with things for yourself and say, oh, I see that this was what happened. Oh my God, peace and harmony. I'm getting glasses on now and I can see what you are talking about. Oh my God, I gave away my corner of my whatever. What did you give away? Become familiar and become familiar with why. Maybe you had to. Maybe you were only 11 and this was your parent. Maybe you were 7 and this was your brother. I mean, you could not get away because the circumstances warranted it. So give yourself a little bit of pat on the back and go, whoa, man, that is what happened. And thank goodness I have my feet here right beneath me, and I've got my 10 toes. If you don't have 10 toes, well, then count them. Go do a foot soak, do yourself a foot rub. Take care of those tootsies, those dogs, whatever. Take care of yourself. Why? Because the narcissist would just as soon, whatever their heap is, they'd rather all their projection rule the roost. They don't really want to acknowledge and validate their pathological insecurity, namely that they don't have the ability to sort of, be content. They don't have that ability. They have a superficial and grandiose sort of fantasy like excitement level that a lot of people get addicted to. They are too afraid to say no. They'd rather take one more hit. They'd rather take one more emotional hangover. They would rather doubt themselves rather than say, you know what, no. And leave it at that without having to explain and justify. If you are trying to battle a pathological insecurity, you are going to end up with like in return. You are going to develop pathological insecurity. You are going to develop self-doubt. You are going to develop a lack of self-control and self-agency. What does self-agency mean? The ability to advocate for yourself. And why would this be pleasing to the narcissist? Because what is there at stake? Is there a winner? Is there a loser? I told you so. What do they make out with? What is their leg up? What do they have to gain? Even if it is attention, even if it is showing that you are down and you are still down and you are living out their dream, basically, of being unhappy, of being judged, of being because they have treated you, do not follow the lead on that. Develop an I am. Develop a self-lead. Develop self-appreciation. Develop self-reverence. This might be very uncomfortable. This might be very new. You must reframe this and say, instead of this being very exciting, instead of saying this is too much for me, this is overwhelming, say, wow, this is very motivating. This is very exciting. Let me discipline myself now. You have to learn the role of metacognition, the ability, the level of your mind to think about what you're thinking about, gives you the ability to put the stops on the brakes of the emotional Maserati that was going straight for narc junction, wimp junction. Don't wimp out. Don't fall into the pacifying of their needs, especially if it results in self-sabotage, self-doubt, and self-harm, and wondering, why did I spend all that? Why did I eat all that? Why did I drink all that? Why did I do all that? So it's time to back up and say, no, instead I will. It's about time that I will. And now write 1 through 20. And what is? Is it about time that I pat myself on the back? Is it about time that I was there for myself? Was it about time that I began to trust myself and stop procrastinating and look at and face some things that I am truly dealing with and acknowledge and validate my needs and go where and understand where is this heading? So if the narcissist, if you don't like where that's heading, it's okay to say no. If you like part of where it's heading, well, but that is you. See, you have all that. So if there's a certain aspect that you enjoy about the narcissist, You have and are all that and a bag of chips. So realize you are all those fun and games and joy and delight that the narcissist is. You are enough. You are good enough. You are not too small. Just because your light shines bright and you've looked upon the highest bough, you know where you stand, and you must know where your champion stands, and you do not have to show it to the narcissist. In fact, the champion is your internal champion. And please know, feel, and experience today what your inner champion looks like, feels like, smells like, looks like, behaves like. It might be a B state. You might need to take an moment date and experience what self-trust, self-respect looks like and feels like, and then understand what boundaries and standards are to create that inner champion. And what does success really look like for you then? And you can ask yourself this time and time again, and the answer will generally be a lesson learned. And after you have learned those lessons, like we talk about in the book that I'm working on, those lessons learned, what are those? Reread those. This has to be a consistent and on the daily basis. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. We have gone an hour and 1 minute here addressing really some important things, namely, what is narcissist pathological insecurity, and what does it cause? What are some of the behaviors that stem out from that pathological need to control and have power over others, namely the pathological emotional abuse, the pathological lying, the manipulation, and these are all sort of can be blended into a whole bunch of things. So manipulation, which means so that the outcome can be according to what they want. But do you know how hard it is to live life according to an outcome? I mean, do you know how difficult control and pressure that is? You're going to end up trying to hurt yourself because the pressure is so great. And, eventually, you'll begin to see that you have privileged access to that space. The narcissist does not. And that's where the gold is. And that's what I want to help you protect. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out and have a beautiful day.